Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and to today's video where I'm going to be running through a few tips on how I drew this betta fish. So looking at the kind of smooth texture of the fins, a little bit on the scales and a little bit on the iridescent kind of nature of the fish as well. First of all though, if you want to follow this in real time, the full tutorial is available over on my Patreon and on my website. I'm going to leave the links to both in the description below if you want to check that out. Now is absolutely the perfect time as well because it's the beginning of the month. But anyway, let's hop straight into this fish. So what I first of all did was sketched out some of the darker shadows and the darker areas on the fish's face. Fishes? I don't know if that's the right word, but that's what we're going with. So I used some Caput Mortem Violet and then added in some red tones because this fish, as you could see from the very first clip, was a mixture of red and blues. And in order to get like a really nice seamless kind of blend between the red and blues, I also added in some purples in there as well, and that created a really lovely harmonious colour palette using red, blue and purple together. They're all next to each other on the colour wheel, so they all worked really nicely with each other. So I used that purple to kind of blend between the red and the blue, and obviously blending the red and the blue over the top of one another created another type of purple as well, which was perfect when adding in other purple tones too. So I kind of added in all of the shadows, and then I have used a white pencil and some sky blue to kind of etch in these highlighted areas, so you can see the sky blue, those really light areas, and then I've added in all of the darker colour around. Then I've gone in with like a little scalloped pattern to add in the impression that there are some scales on there. The scales on the fish head are really tiny, and this drawing was actually quite small as well, so my pattern kind of got a little bit lost and it kind of wasn't entirely necessary to form like the whole scallop shape and like that repeating pattern. I kind of mimicked it a little bit, but I just kind of needed to add in one or two, I think, to give the impression that those scales are in that kind of pattern there. As you can see in the fish head, I've left lots of little light blue areas and then blended them into the darker areas, and as I mentioned, using some purple to help to blend the blues into those darker areas where I've added reds, just to create like a really nice seamless edge through there. After I've worked on that little bit of fish head, I then worked on the first fin. So with the really bright colours that are coming through on this fish, I didn't actually put down a base layer of an ivory or a cream or a warm or cool grey or anything like that. I just went straight in with the colours. So as you can see, I'm kind of adding in some red. This was a light cadmium red that I used first, which was kind of like an orangey red, and using an orangey red kind of adds a little bit more vibrance. Again, I'm using that kind of harmonious colour of the orange next to the red on the colour wheel, which is going to help to create a little bit more kind of luminance within the colours. So first of all, I'm just putting down a really light layer of that initial light red, and then gradually getting darker with my red tones and adding in the shadows where I can see them. And to create the shadow, the really dark areas, I just added in some dark indigo and some purple. Again, the colours that I've used through the face to try and tie everything together. So the shadows are toned using some blues and purples. I think I used a little bit of dark sepia here and there, and maybe some black too, but very sparingly. One of the main kind of tasks and difficulties I had with this is that on the, I don't know what kind of fins they are, but the ones that are kind of near the gills at the face, they really kind of see through and you can't really see them at all, and I wanted to just hint that they were there, so I had to use my Holbein soft white and go over and add like little lines just coming over the top, so it looks like you can see a fin there, like with the bone structure and everything in it. But yeah, that was a kind of difficulty that I had with this, and we'll get to another difficulty that I had as well. But for the body of the fish, you can see I haven't again put down any kind of base layer of warm or cool grey or anything like that. Just gone straight in with those lovely blue tones, used my lightest blue, added in that scalloped pattern. Again, I don't think I really needed to add the scale pardon the pun, the scale of scales that I did add. I think I just needed to kind of rein them in a little bit and just add one or two rather than a whole pattern across the back, but it gives the right impression and you can tell that there is like that scaly pattern on the fish, so I'm not too mad at it there. But I just got darker with those blue tones on the body again, shadowing with some dark indigo on the very underneath, adding in some purple and then adding in a little bit of red through there as well. These blue fins were where it got a little bit more complex, or the red but with like hints of blue. So what I'm doing first of all is using my lighter blue and adding in the blue areas that I need to, and then going over and darkening them where I need to with various other blue colours, so some dark indigo. I think I used some Indanthrene blue through here as well because it has like a red tone to it, which works really nicely with the red colours that I was using. And then once I've got all of those blue areas in, I'm then adding in my red, my light cadmium red, a little bit of orange as well to give that a little bit of luminance, and then gradually getting darker with my red tones. I think I used some dark red, and yeah, I did actually use some black to help to darken with this. And also to create that smooth surface, you can probably see that I have used a blender pen. So I have used the Finesse blender pen. It's my absolute favourite to use when I'm working with coloured pencil and blending. It gives you a really nice application of the blender to the paper. I'm going to leave a link in the description if you want to check out how exactly you would use a blender pen and all of that kind of thing, so I'll leave that in the description for you. But to get that smooth surface, you can see it kind of looks really nice and smooth where I have blended. I haven't blended on the body, and you can see that it's kind of got like a little bit of a bobbly texture, whereas the fin is really nice and smooth. So you can see how much of a difference using a blender pen or a blender or solvent in general can create a really nice smooth look in comparison to just using your coloured pencils. And that's how I kind of defined the two textures of the fish. The body and the fins are kind of similar, but the body does have, as I keep mentioning, the scales and that pattern, and I wanted to kind of keep that effect but not get it too smooth, so I didn't use a blender through the body for that reason, so that it keeps like the grain of the paper and kind of gives that a little bit extra texture. Whereas the fins, they're really nice and smooth and flowy, so using a blender there was a bit of a no-brainer. So if you're looking for some smooth surfaces, or you're working on a fish that is really smooth all over, use a blender pen or a solvent to help you get those really nice smooth surfaces. You can use a white pencil, because I have been using a white pencil on this top blue fin, but in my opinion it doesn't quite get the nice smooth texture as well as using a solvent. And also the solvent also makes your colours and everything a lot brighter, so if you want a really nice vibrant and kind of punchy portrait, then a blender is going to be the one for you. I did actually go ahead and use a blender over the top of my white as well, because I realised that I wasn't getting a nice smooth look, so I have actually used the blender pen through here as well. But I use the same process of adding in the darker shadows and everything first, and then going in and using a lighter colour and then just blending everything together. The tail of the fish is where I run into a little bit of difficulty. You can see I'm kind of mapping out all of these weird shaped pieces that kind of attach to the body. It's kind of like almost like a diamond shape, and then it tapers off into really long thin ends towards the end of the tail, and I didn't quite map them out right. I kind of rushed through this a little bit, so I should have taken a little bit more time and a little bit more care to kind of really map them out and really get the shapes right, because around the bottom on these ones that I'm adding in now, this is where it kind of went a little bit wrong, and I didn't pay as much attention as I probably should have, and the shapes have kind of gone a little bit off, but I spent a long time trying to fix this, so you'll see me trying to fix this as we go through. But again, I've used the lighter blue to add in all of the areas of blue that I need to through the tail, and then gone a little bit darker here and there, and also using the purple tones to come in between those little blue areas that I have kind of mapped out, and that's going to help to blend into the red tones which are going to come towards the end of the tail. I think my favourite part of actually creating this fish was trying to create this really nice smooth blend between all of the colours, because obviously red and blue, you kind of think blue as cool and red as warm, but the blues here were actually, a lot of them were of a warmer tone, so it was really nice to try and find some purple warm tones to try and mix in with the red, but then there were also red tones that were of a cooler variety as well, so there was a real nice mix of everything going on, and it was really fun trying to balance all of those tones and all of those colours together to create something that doesn't kind of look a little bit messy. As I said, with the tail, I did kind of get a little bit on the messy side. This bit that I'm adding in now, I just, the whole lighter blue areas, those little triangles and everything were just going really wrong. I don't know whether it was just at the time that I was thinking that, but looking back at this footage now, it doesn't actually look too bad, but at the time I was like, this isn't going right, this is going wrong, and I just needed to, as I said, spend a little bit more time planning out everything and looking at the reference photo and just making sure that everything is the right shape by just going in with light layers and then building the pressure and building the tones. But I just kind of rushed through this because I think I just wanted to get through it and get it finished, because it was obviously a tutorial and everything and people were waiting for it. But yeah, I was really pleased with the outcome of this, and I really do love the blend of all of the purple, blue and red tones together. I think it works really, really nicely. For the added little extra white bits that you could see on the reference photo, I used a white gel pen to add these in, and then I've just shaded over them with some of the red tones to kind of dull them down a little bit. But adding in the little dots with the white gel pen I think was a really nice touch, because it's giving that little extra kind of sparkle, makes it look a little bit more shimmery, like it's just wafting through the water or something like that. But as I said, I've used the white gel pen, I've used the Sakura Jelly Roll pen, which is my favourite to use. I did try and use a white pencil to add these white bits in, but it wasn't getting as white as I wanted, so just using that extra little help from the gel pen that did the trick there. And then, as I said, just shaded over them to help to blend them in a little bit more. I think I had a few little white gel pen areas through the face and everything as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I really hope that you have enjoyed it and taken something away from it, whether you're working on your own fish, maybe you didn't know whether to use a blender or whether to just use straight up coloured pencils, but hopefully I've kind of voiced my opinions on this and given you some guidance. If you like this, make sure you give it a big thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye!